Oh man, what is up, guys? What's up? This is BanTheTesters here, aka Jay. How you guys doing? It's been a while since I've actually made a video. It's been a little bit, man. I've just been trying to figure out what video games to play, and I haven't been really watching a lot of too many mainstream releases. Anyway, so this is a new segment that I'm going to start doing. This is I just thought this up. I mean, it's something that I'm really actually super excited to get into. And I haven't thought of a super proper name, so definitely, if anybody has any suggestions or whatever, leave them in the comments as well. But right now I was thinking about calling it B-Movie Hero. And it's a segment of me just talking about movies that probably aren't too popular with the public or whatever, but, you know, some underrated gems that I actually like watching and stuff. And I apologize for all the background noise. Again, this microphone picks up everything, and when you live next to a major street, then, you know, it's going to pick up a bunch of stuff. So, again, I apologize in advance, guys. Like, the window's literally right next to this thing. So, sorry about that. But anyway, so the first film that I'm going to talk about today is actually it's a little film called Vampire Academy, which was based off of a young adult's novel. And this film basically came out February 7th, 2014. And, it wasn't really received all that well. I think right now it's currently an 11% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes out of 56, but 56% actually liked it, and I completely agree with this film. I think it's really a lot more underrated than people thought. Again, I think people really just passed this off as some type of Twilight rip or some type of movie that was fully ripping on Twilight or whatever have you. But it was actually a really fun film to watch. So I'm just going to sit here and talk about some things for a little bit. But okay, so general premise of the story, basically there are two female leads that are Rose, played by Zoe D, and Lisa, played by Lucy Fry, who's an Australian actress. She's lovely to watch here. And so basically, Lucy Fry's character is a princess, from a really big bloodline or whatever, and she's got this responsibility she has to lead, etc. And so protecting her kind of sort of bodyguard, or Dampierre, which is half vampire, half human, is actually Zoe D's character, Rose. And so at the beginning, these two have run away from the academy for several months, and have actually been doing pretty well into hiding, but I guess somewhere along the lines they kind of slipped up and are found by some of the other people who are responsible for guarding this academy, and so they bring them all the way back to this academy, Vampire Academy, and it's funny because they make a crack about Lucy Fry's character actually makes a crack about hating the V word, the vampire word, which is pretty funny in itself. So just to start things off, it's Zoe D's character, Rose, is really sarcastic, but to me, I was just reading, I remember reading a few reviews back when the movie kind of sort of came out way before I'd seen it. And again, I've seen this movie maybe like 4 or 5 times, and just reading some of the reviews where they were saying her character was really annoying really didn't make any fucking sense to me. She's restrained enough to where it's super entertaining, and man, like, I wish I had some like names on this list or whatever to sit here and think about characters that are more annoying than whatever people were perceiving. But people basically wrote this off as some type of Harry Potter, trying to catch the Harry Potter Twilight in a bottle. And again, they actually make a crack on Twilight. Basically, the joke there is that these vampires don't sparkle, and which is really cool. Which is, again, they kind of go a little deep into the storyline, like saying, hey, these vampires don't sparkle, and sunlight does not kill them, but it hurts them. So it's very interesting to see them goof around with the rules a little bit and make that Twilight crack, which is pretty interesting. But it just, I really didn't really get all the hate from this film. Like, it really kind of sucked. Again, the film only made about $15.4 million of a $30 million budget. So again, they didn't even make budget back, which tells you all you need to know. But I didn't get the hate for this film that some people were just kind of spewing at this movie or whatever. A lot of people didn't like the Rose character, but for me, I just really love this film. They have prime example again is Zoe Dutch's character, basically Rose. There's this oh man, I don't know. She plays this teenager with such skill. This really sarcastic teenager that it's just so much fun to watch. Like, I honestly think that she lights up the screen. And Lucy Fry again as Lisa really does. I think she really has that calm princess type vibe down. It's just a really, she's very proper. She holds herself very well. And again, I don't see how this is really compared to Harry Potter, based off the sole fact that, and again, people were saying we're making those comparisons again. These people in the film are wearing uniforms because they're at the school, but there's some interesting elements. Of course, there's a lot of people making out. It doesn't really go further than that, even though it almost does in one certain scene, and I'm not going to spoil that for anybody who hasn't seen it. But I really think it's awesome to see these two ladies on screen, and because they're just so entertaining to watch. And honestly, it looks like and this really irritates me to no end because people don't understand this concept, but it looks like these two are having fun making this movie, which is something that, as of 2015, I don't really see nowadays. I'm thinking about it at all. I don't see it at all nowadays when people are making, movies are always dark and broody, and again, they rip on that type of stuff. It's just really lighthearted. It's like that lighthearted, high schoolish type vibe, and it seems like everybody's just really having fun. I remember listening to an interview with one of the male love interests, who ironically is actually now going to be in a TV series for another young adult movie, which is pretty interesting in itself. But it's just, he had said like, oh hey, these two, he was talking about Lucy Fry and Zoe D, like, oh hey, these two were already hanging out or whatever and stuff before I did my training, before I came onto the movie. And it really seems like the two of them were really good friends before the movie started, and that shows in the actual film, and that for me is amazing to see, because it really comes off as these guys have been friends, these two ladies have been friends for years, and it's an amazing dynamic in the film because they seem so comfortable with each other and so comfortable on set, and it's just a lot of fun to really watch. And also to say something, the movie definitely does have action. Doesn't have a lot of it. Again, it's a young adult drama, teen drama, teen dramedy. It's more comedy, definitely. The movie definitely does not take itself seriously in this medium. And thinking off the top of my head, like, let's say Mortal Instruments, or Mortal Instruments. And there's another movie that I'm probably going to talk about a little bit, maybe, but I can't even, for some odd reason, I can't even get that movie inside my head. But, Beautiful Creatures is what it is. This movie does not take itself seriously at all. It knows it's this sappy kind of, comedy / with, of course, drama or whatever. But the fun aspect of it does not take itself seriously at all. And that's just super fun to watch because those type of movies, again, the movies that I named off, take themselves super seriously with the content. It's just, it's just a really odd issue, especially considering some of the plot, what the film's about, etc. You think they would be a little bit more lighthearted on that aspect, but they're not, but whatever. But this movie basically does not take itself seriously, and of course Sarah Holland, I think, is also in it from Modern Family, I believe she stars in. She does a really good job. Like, towards the end of the film, she does a really good job, and I won't spoil that for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it's awesome sitting there and watching her do this stuff. But I just didn't get all the hate for it. So just some fun facts. Again, this film was actually directed by Mark Waters of Mean Girls fame. He actually directed Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan way back in the day. So that was pretty interesting, and you do get that kind of sort of vibe. But what was fun about his directing was it doesn't really seem like it's trying to copy off Mean Girls. It's its own entity of that. Yes, it has some smart quips and things like that. Maybe not as smart as Mean Girls, but still very smart quips. And it's just not trying to jock their style, but it's also taking little bits and pieces of elements, especially from the dialogue from that. Like, I remember Rose is insulting somebody and she calls somebody, hey, Gap Kids. There's just really snappy dialogue as far as that, which is a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, so Mark Waters directed this film. And so the film, again, as I said, only made $15.4 million out of the $30 million budget, and they decided to do like an Indiegogo, campaign for it. And I believe they only raised about, and man, I mean, I guess they only raised about $272,882 out of the $1.5 million budget, which, to be honest, I think what was there were a couple of faulty moves in this whole aspect of this thing here. Number one, I actually had I'm not really usually the Kickstarter type guy or whatever, but I at least would have tried to get the word out or whatever. I had no idea this Indiegogo campaign had taken place at all, ever. I had never known until like maybe a few months after it ended, and I think that might have been one of the issues as well. But so that was a hindrance. That was an interesting hindrance, and also $1.5 million budget. I don't know, man. Like, I just kind of feel like if I was definitely aiming, if I definitely didn't have studio backing, I probably maybe would have tried to see if I could make the film work on a little less of a budget, something a little bit more realistic. Like, looking at those numbers right now and how much they raise, it just doesn't really seem realistic, like, I guess, in that sense. So, but as I said, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Again, Olga Kurlenko, who is actually, she played a Bond girl, a very tough Bond girl, and when one of the Bond movies, one of the more recent Daniel Craig Bond movies, is great in this film. She is the headmistress of this academy and chews up the scenery, and she's so devilishly charming. And it's just not like seeing her act in this movie is great. Like it's honestly worth the price of admission alone. Seeing how her take on this headmistress is just so, it's just so juicy. Like, you know, it's like a little bit, it's a little sexually charged, but not sexually charged. But it's just amazing to see. It's just worth the price of admission alone. Again, Sammy Gailey as M.I.A., who is basically the mean girl of this film, also does an amazing job. And it's super weird how she's kind of just comfortable with this character. But she does an amazing job with this role as well, as playing this really catty girl, this really snappy, you know, hip, you know, kind of vampire, you know, high school antagonist to Lucy Fry's character, to Lisa. So, you know, and again, just in retrospect, I really just enjoyed this film. It's just a really feel-good film, and again, it just seems like everybody's having so much fun, and I just really didn't understand why it didn't catch on, you know, now that, you know, Harry Potter is already done or whatever. I just really didn't get the comparisons, especially since this movie is a little bit harder. I think if I remember, the Harry Potter movies were actually PG, except for maybe the last two were PG-13, but this movie's, I wouldn't say hard PG-13 because there's no real violence, but you know, it's just, you know, that sexuality that Harry Potter was missing from the Harry Potter because they were very lighthearted, you know, fun movies, is actually present here in the Vampire Academy film. So that's really great as well. And again, there's not too much fighting going on, but there is I'd say one specific fight scene in the movie that kind of seems actually really well choreographed. Like, man, I was actually really impressed with how hard hitting some of that was, and then the aftermath of that as well. So the climax of that fight is pretty interesting as well. So it was nice. But anyway, I actually really liked Vampire Academy. I was kind of bummed out that, you know, the Kickstarter didn't pan out. And, you know, with all these great elements, again, Mark Waters directing it, and the two leads are just super fun to watch. It just blew my fucking mind how this movie just didn't do well. But anyway, so, okay, yeah, so that is basically what I have to say about that film. I'll definitely be doing more of these. But hey, if you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, so definitely like, and definitely want to see your comments from you guys. Are there any movies that you guys feel are underrated gems that people didn't really appreciate or whatever? I definitely want to hear from you guys about that as well. Anyway, this is really fun, and I'm definitely going to definitely make more of these. And again, I definitely recommend it. I think you guys should definitely watch Vampire Academy if you have not. If you guys can get it on Netflix or rent it as well, definitely do it. It's a lot of fun. And thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys later.